So, hello all, and welcome to this series of fan engagement motivation, where we are talking to some passionate IPL fans and trying to bring out their fan stories and trying to understand that what are the factors that motivate them to follow a specific IPL franchise very passionately season after season. So, in this series today, we have Rivanshu with us, and as you can see from his jersey, he's a passionate KKR fan. So, Rivanshu, welcome to this show.
Thank you so much.
Right. So tell me how your journey as a KKR fan started because you are looking very passionate and very keen to talk about it.
Yeah, IPL since 2008, I'm a KKR fan. I started watching cricket at a very early age. I guess I was 6 or 7 years old. I didn't understand anything, but I still used to watch KKR in that black jersey, golden jersey. So from 2008 to 2021, I've been a die-hard KKR fan. I mean, I was this small. I used to say, "Bhaiya, bhaiya, aaj kaun jeetega?" So that from there to here 2021 we have won two titles and having such a great legacy. It's always a great feeling to support KKR.
Right. So what motivated you to follow KKR in 2008? Because during that time, yes, they had so many stars, but there were other franchises also which were star-studded like Mumbai or Punjab or Delhi.
So basically I'm from Ranchi, so people just assume that I must be a Dhoni fan or a CSK fan, but at Bengali I'm a Mukherjee. So I always like that Kolkata franchise and the fact that Shah Rukh Khan owns the team. So that is the reason I started supporting KKR and also their jersey. I told you I was very young and I didn't knew what cricket really was. So I started watching cricket just because of KKR.
Right. So that's a really good connection of fan KKR and SRK. And every KKR fan whom I've interviewed, they have always mentioned that SRK is one of the factors why they follow KKR. So, what do you think is the role of SRK in making KKR such a brand that whenever they play at Eden, fans just go crazy?
Yeah. So if you talk about CSK, they have Dhoni. If you talk about Mumbai, they have Sachin, Rohit. So our CEO Venki Mysore always says that we don't need a face value or a brand value because we already have SRK in our squad. So I think SRK just being in the Eden Stadium and waving and kissing the audience, it just makes that energy. It's just amazing feeling having KKR in our dugout. And mostly as a owner, KKR owner of KKR, SRK never interferes in their internal matters like selection of a team or saying something or suggestion. It's all up to the coaches and captain. So I like that about SRK.
Right. So you mentioned the owners aspect, but you also mentioned about Venki Mysore and the role of coaches. So how
Yeah.
important is this Venki Mysore's connection with coaches and his understanding of cricket? Because we have seen that Venki Mysore is very passionate and he brought data analytics into KKR much earlier than other franchisees.
Yeah. So I think out of all the CEOs we have in this IPL, I think Venki Mysore is the best CEO, and I can proudly say that because he never takes those tough, that harsh decisions. Like unless Karthik didn't himself said that I don't want to be a captain, he was not removing Karthik as a captain. In spite of being such a bad performances in last 3 years, so as an owner, they are really good. I think Jay Mehta, SRK, Juhi Chawla, all of them are they don't take any harsh decisions. That is what I want to say. That they don't like. Recently, we saw how David Warner was removed as a captain. He has done so much for SRH. So KKR never takes those decisions. So that is why I'm very proud of my owners.
Right. And now talking about the coaching setup of KKR. So when they go into auctions and all, they look for a team and a coaching setup that can be there and is consistent for next 2 to 3 years. So how important is that coaching setup where we see some big names like Brandon McCullum?
Yeah. So I think this KKR coaching setup is more of a reunion. Like we have Brendan McCullum, he was with us in 2009 and then later also, and we had David Hussey and all. So I think KKR wants their management to be like a family, and I think KKR has been choosing their management quite. I would say their thinking of choosing a management is very intelligent.
Right, right.
I mean, Morgan and Brendan McCullum has this really nice relationship. So they target their players in such a way that players can also make a very good relationship with their coaches.
Right, that really makes sense. And when you look at KKR as a fan in three different eras, when Gambhir was not there in the initial stage and Saurav Ganguly was leading, then the
Yeah.
golden era of KKR came during Gautam Gambhir's time, and
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
Gambhir. So, which era
Yeah.
do you think gave you the most happy moments as a fan, and what do you think is missing in KKR right now?
Of course, Gautam Gambhir's era was, I mean, iconic. We cannot fear. We always miss that era. We want that era back. We had Robin Uthappa, Yusuf Pathan, Manish Pandey. We want that setup back. And I think this era that we are in right now is quite disappointing. So I think that Ganguly era was also very good in spite of the fact that we weren't performing, but we had some records. So I think Gautam Gambhir's era would be number one. Second would be Saurav Ganguly and McCullum combined era, and then DK's era.
Right, right. It makes complete sense, even in terms of trophy cabinet and in terms of fan following, because Ganguly, Gale, and McCullum, they had huge fan following.
Ponting was also there.
Yeah,
Ponting was there. Shoaib Akhtar was also there.
right. They had huge fan following in those days. But do you think that the way KKR setup was there in Gambhir's era, they invested a lot in all rounders? Do you think that that part is somewhat missing in this era?
No, I think all rounder is not a solution. We already have many great all rounders. We have Ben Cutting, we have Andre Russell, we have Sunil Narine, we have great all rounders. I think the thing which is missing is that leadership, that strong leadership that Gambhir used to bring. I mean, he was the heart and soul of KKR. When he used to just go out on the field and expressed himself throughout. So I think we are missing that. That strong leadership is what we are missing.
Right, right. So do you think that the way your anthem says that Korbo Lorbo Jeetbo, so Gambhir truly represented that, but that
Yeah,
spirit
yeah,
is right
yeah,
now missing.
yeah. I mean, the aggression, the passion that he used to show in the field, that Gambhir really represented that thing. Korbo Lorbo Jidwo.
Right, right. And now coming to your jersey. So from the very first season onwards, KKR was very unique about its jersey color and its anthem
Yeah,
and the way it
yeah,
connected with the local culture and local fans. So how
yeah.
important was that connect?
So in 2008, we had this black and golden jersey, and it was being changed to purple in 2011, and that jersey change also changed our fortunes. So I think I still feel that black jersey can come back, and I always like that jersey, black and golden jersey. And right now the jersey that we have right now is also good, but that golden and purple jersey will bring out that nostalgic feeling.
Right, right, right. And now KKR, they have started giving their fans a lot of importance. They use this hashtag "Tu fan nahi tu fan hai," and they use
Yeah,
so much stuff for the fans. So how do you
yeah.
feel as a fan when the franchise is trying to give it back to you, the kind of love you show to the franchise?
So as a KKR fan, I always feel connected to the franchise. Like a few years back, they also conducted this KKR fan tank where they were asking us, who do you want as the new KKR players? So I think KKR is a franchise which always look after their fans. And I remember I said, ki, take Pat Cummins, take On Morgan, take Rahul Tripathi, and all those players were taken by KKR. So I think KKR is very nice franchise in terms of what they do for their fans.
Right, right. So that's really true. And now coming to this Indian captain versus overseas captain debate, because so far in the history of IPL, we have seen that many franchisees were struggling whether they should go for an Indian captain or overseas captain. In KKR also, we have seen that this transition happening. But right now also, when the overseas captain is not performing, then again fans start to ask these kind of questions whether they should go back to Indian
Yeah,
captain not.
Yeah.
So what's your take on this?
So mostly the problem is if the Indian guy, if the Indian captain goes out of form, you have other guys to back him up. But if only 4 overseas slots are available, and out of that, 1 overseas slot is filled by a captain, and if he goes out of form, then the balance kind of gets deteriorated. So I think overseas captains haven't been so successful in IPL except a few like David Warner or Steve Smith. So I think Indian captains are a better choice to have. And I think when Dinesh Karthik left the captaincy, he did not had any other choice. He didn't had any captaincy choice other than On Morgan. So lastly, On Morgan was given the captaincy.
Right, right. So Indian captain really attracts a lot of fans because fans feel more connected with that Indian leader that they see and the
Yeah.
person who represents the franchise. But when we see KKR, we see a blend of youngsters and experienced players. So a lot of Indian youngsters, especially we see in the bowling department, Shivam Mavi, Kamlesh Nagarkoti, Prasiddh Krishna. So how do you feel about this as a fan that a lot of Indian pacers are coming out of KKR?
I think I'm about to say something that can maybe a bit controversial. That Gautam Gambhir didn't had these big names like we have On Morgan, we have Andre Russell, we have Pat Cummins. He had Debrata Das, Lakshmipati Balaji, Surya Kumar Yadav of that time wasn't very was not a very great cricketer. So I think if he can win with this team, then the problem is leadership. That is what I think. And the Indian core, talking about the Indian core, I think we have one of the most stable and trustworthy Indian core in the entire tournament.
Right, right. So when we see this KKR setup, that we find that lot of uncapped Indian players they feature in the playing 11, which is kind of unique, and this has been continuing since Gautam Gambhir's era. So they kind of
Yeah,
continued this legacy of Gautam Gambhir. So how
yeah.
important is it for a fan when he sees an uncapped Indian player like Nitish Rana or Rahul Tripathi performing such match-winning knocks?
So first of all, Rahul Tripathi, Shubman Gill, and Nitish Rana, they are not any less than a capped player, and we really think so. But credit goes to KKR's scouting team. They work hard throughout the year and pick these amazing talents. For example, as Varun Chakravarti, nobody knew him. Punjab and KKR fought for him in the 2019 auction, and Punjab got him in 8 crores. And after that auction, KKR bought him. So I think that scouting team and trusting on your scoutings are really important for a tournament like IPL.
Right, that really makes sense. So, as a fan, when you see these big players, so fans usually attach themselves to KKR because of Andre Russell or Sunil Narayan, the kind
Yeah,
of power
yeah,
hitting that they exhibit. But on the other hand, you also have the Indian talented players, uncapped players. So, as
yeah.
a fan, as a KKR fan, what attracts you the most? These the muscle power or Andre Russell or Sunil Narayan, these big hitters, or the uncapped Indian batsmen?
I think the blend of both the things can create magic. Also, we have many Indian players who are sitting in bench and have huge potential, like Karun Nair, Venkatesh Iyer, Vaibhav Arora, Sandeep Warrier, and the name goes on. So I think in terms of having great overseas players and having great youth, have doing really great.
Right, right. So usually fans point out this thing that when a franchise has local players, local star players, so that usually attracts the local fans. But when
Yeah,
we see KKR's team, they don't have any local Bengal
yeah,
player. So do you feel
yeah.
disappointed about it, or do you think that it doesn't matter as long as we are winning?
I think all the good players are of Bengal are in other teams. Like we also had Ashok Dinda, we had Mohammad Shami, we had Manoj Tiwari, and we also targeted Ishan Porel in 2018's auction. But the dynamics of auctioning is goes in such a way that we cannot expect anything. So I think it doesn't matter that we have any Bengal players or not. It is completely based on skills. and you cannot expect all the Bengal players to play for Kolkata Knight Riders, because you know, we just have 18 to 24
Players,
limit. Yeah.
right. So that budget constraint is always there in front of the franchise. But
Yeah.
when KKR goes into auction, so usually they make some smart buys. So,
Yeah.
but when they went for a player like Pat Cummins for such huge amount, what was your reaction as a fan? Because that was completely opposite of.
I mean, that was one of the best auction moments for me. I was like, now RCB is going to buy Pat Cummins, and out of nowhere they lift the paddle up and they bought Pat Cummins, and the auctioneer was also smiling. So these small moves that KKR do in the auction, like, experience comes into play a lot in auctions of IPL. So I think KKR has been in this auction for 13, 14 years. So they have experience. They know how to get players.
Right. So,
I
but
think I think once they also targeted Bangladeshi fast bowler Mushraf Murtaza. Nobody was expecting him, and he went around 1 million. So I think KKR always do such surprises.
right. So continuing this discussion, so KKR, they usually surprise us with one or two overseas choices that they make, especially in
Yeah,
terms of talented players. So unknown talented players, because players like when in the Gautam Gambhir's era, if you talk about, so they bought someone like Ranton Descarte. No one knew about him, and
yeah,
then if you see recent seasons, they bought players like Harry Gurney, Tom Banton.
yeah.
So, as a fan, so when KKR tries to buy this kind of players, so usually what's your thought process, or how do you react to that? Do you want to see them in the playing 11, or do you want to see the experienced players in the playing 11?
I think seeing KKR buy those players is kind of really scary, because we don't know what they are going to do. Seeing other franchises buying big players, like once in 2018 auctions, we bought Javon Sals and Cameron Bancroft. I mean, didn't knew anything about him, and seeing other franchises buying big players like David Warner and Kane Williamson. So we always had this doubt, but we also have that trust that whatever KKR is going to do, they have their mindset that this is what we are going to do, and this is what our plan is. So we completely trust on our franchise that whatever player they are going to buy, it will be a good player.
Right. And KKR, they started trusting data much earlier than other franchisees. So if
Yeah,
you see as fans, Brandon McCullum, he usually sits in the dugout with a notebook and he keeps
yeah.
noting down things. And then this time they have also added England's white ball analyst as their analyst into the squad. So how important is this reliance on data? So sometimes as a fan, do you think that they are relying too much on data instead of relying on their gut feeling, or do you think that okay, data backed decisions are good?
I think from last 13 or 14 years, A.R. Srikanth, our head analyst, is doing really great. But now they are overthinking, and they are now doing over editions. Like recently, Lemon, I guess, I don't remember his name, came
Nathan Lemon is name.
Nathan Lemon, yeah. So he came into KKR, and Morgan is a kind of a captain who depends a lot of in these things. So instinct sometimes is a better choice than having these analysts and matchups. So Gambhir was a kind of a captain who used more of his instincts during the match, more than this analysis and data analytics. So I think dependency is something which KKR have to avoid.
Right. So once again, do you think that this comes back to the same debate of Indian captain versus overseas captain? Because we see that Indian captains, they don't trust data that much, but when we have an
Yeah,
overseas captain, so overseas captains usually rely a lot on data because that's in their cricketing culture.
yeah. And also I think Indian captains are always better if you want to have a comfortable Indian core, because players like Prasidh Krishna or Shivam Mavi or Kamlesh Nagarkoti cannot talk to Morgan about things about the problems. but they can easily talk to Dinesh Karthik about the problem. So I think Indian captains are always a better choice for our Indian players.
Right. And then, how important is a senior player like Pat Cummins' role in the team, because he comes up the massive amount. And then when we see other bowlers, you have all other bowlers, Indian bowlers. So how
Yeah.
important is Pat Cummins' role as a mentor and also as a leader of that pace attack?
I think Pat Cummins hasn't been very economical in this IPL or the previous IPL, but with the bat he is contributing, and also he has this leadership skills. But I think 15.5 is quite a high number that he is getting. I think around 8-9 crores. I think Lockie Ferguson will bring the same things that Pat Cummins brings. So I think 15.5 crores is not a very justificable number.
Right, right. So that's also make complete sense. So as a fan, when the team doesn't perform, because we have seen that there were so many ups and downs in KKR's history. So their initial seasons were not good, but then they started performing really well. Then again,
Mm.
a drop came in their performance. So as a fan, when you see these kinds of ups and downs, then when the team is performing really good, then you also feel good. But when the team is not performing well, do you feel that I should support some other franchise because this franchise is making some mistakes?
Now it's been 13 years now. We have been so connected with the franchise that we cannot even think to choose any other franchise. And what we can do the best in that kind of a situation is to be positive, trust your team. They'll bounce back. Always support your team no matter what. Even if they are losing, support your team. That is the best we can do as a fan. And also I think that in the initial phase we had this bad form, and then King Gambhir came in, and we started winning again, and again we have this phase that we are losing again. So I think those days are coming where we are just winning.
Right, right. So, coming to another aspect, so when the team is winning, we usually see a lot of fans starts to follow that particular team. So, but recently KKR's performance has dipped. But there is one guy who still has that kind of power that attracts a lot of fan, and that's SRK. Because when we
Yeah.
see, so do you think this is a plus for KKR? Because when we see RCB, they are Virat Kohli and ABD fans. We don't know what will happen to those fans when Virat and ABD leaves RCB.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Similarly to CSK, they are Dhoni fans. We don't know what will happen to CSK once Dhoni leaves. So do you think this is a plus for KKR that fans are the owners' fans, SRK fans? They are
Yeah.
not limited to a particular player.
So SRK will always going to be with us unless he gets bankrupt or something. So I think this is a huge plus that SRK owns our team, and we can proudly say that maybe SRK don't know us. SRK don't know any of us, but he has given us such a big gift, that is KKR, that we cannot thank him enough.
Right, right, right. So, how important is SRK's presence at the stadium when the team is not performing well, so that the same kind of brand image of KKR is maintained? Because when we see in terms of fan following, so KKR has huge number of fans after if we take out the big three, Chennai, RCB, and Mumbai. So KKR is there among the top four in terms of fan following.
I think KKR is in number 3, I guess. I think I will count the first. I would definitely have CSK, then Mumbai, and I think KKR would be in number 3. And as far as we talk about SRK, I think recently when we lost against Mumbai Indians, SRK tweeted this, that sorry to all the fans. So he takes care of his fans. Even if KKR started losing, they won't lose any fans because they have such a good management and owner.
Right, right. So now coming to last couple of questions. So KKR, So when they started as a pure they started as a pure Bengal fan following franchise, because lot of players, the star iconic player Saurav Ganguly was there in KKR. But then a time came when Saurav Ganguly left KKR. So
Hmm.
how important was that emotionally for you as a fan, because your star Bengal player was leaving KKR and he was playing for some other
Yeah.
franchise. So were you in a dilemma that you should also shift?
No, I think the time when they left Saurabh Ganguly, it was 10 days before the auction, 10 or 12 days before the auction, and suddenly they bought Gautam Gambhir. So we were also very frustrated that the way they were losing seasons after seasons, and then we were happy that we can get someone fresh. And I really thought that this can be a huge disaster for KKR, dropping somebody like Saurabh Ganguly, a Bengal boy. And I thought there will be huge riots and all, that how can you drop Saurav Ganguly? So I think things turned out pretty well. We had Gautam Gambhir and we had 7 wonderful years with him.
Right, right. Now coming to the last question of this segment. So when we see KKR and compare it with other franchises right now, so this KKR setup where we find a lot of all-rounders is very similar to Chennai setup where MS Dhoni also trusts a lot of all-rounders. He wants those 6-7 bowling options. And KKR also have this similar kind of setup where they want all-rounders, 6-7 bowling
Yeah,
options. So
yeah.
how do you see this approach and the kind of success that CSK got versus the kind of success that KKR got?
I think the story of all rounders in KKR will always be iconic. We had Jack Callis, we had Lakshmipat, Lakshmipati, we had Shukla, I guess.
Lakshmi Ratan
we
Shukla.
had we had we had Rajat Bhatia. Now we have Russell, we have Nareen. So I think it is all based on A.R. Shrikant's layout. He has this layout that he's our analyst, I tell you first. And he has this layout that all rounders gives you that balance, that they can easily have 8 overs and they can bat. So we have these proper all rounders, the all rounders who can bat and who can bowl also equally well. So I think no other team has that.
Right, right. So do you think that a lot of cricket fans who want to analyze things and who want to understand things from a different perspective, they follow KKR just to see their auction strategy, that how they go into auctions and what kind of players they
Yeah,
buy, just from a cricketing brain point of view?
yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And I think Jay Mehta, Venki Mysore, and our coaches, Brendan McCullum, when they sit on that auction table, must be very frightening for other franchises, and I completely agree.
Right, right. So that's a brilliant way to end this particular segment here. And we discussed a lot of fandom aspects of KKR and what makes KKR so special for you as a fan. Especially there's a SRK connect is there, but there are various other aspects also to it. So thank you, Rivanshu, for coming to this show and sharing your views about the franchise and talking about the various aspects of their fandom.
Thank you so much for having me.